Yep.
Yep. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, good afternoon, guys. My name is Abdel Kouami. Own and operate a mortgage branch under Got Mortgages through Paramount Residential Mortgage Group. Really wanted to touch base with us today, just in terms of branding, some of the things in terms of business scaling. I think this goes over all sorts of industries, not just on the mortgages or real estate, but into even our personal lives. So kind of getting started with that, the first thing I always tell, a lot of different professionals when we're going over the branding is thinking of from an online presence, right? Is your online presence working to grow your business, right? Are you utilizing the importance of online social media, online different avenues, whether it's Google? Are you utilizing the importance of, I call them the Zillow, right? The devil with Zillow, Realtor.com, and all those different avenues. But are you using that to your advantage as they are simultaneously doing it by putting their names out there and getting their hands dipped in certain different experiences, right? So we all may have at least 2 years in the business, 5 years in the business, 10 years in the business. What I have learned very quickly is the years of experiences, and this is not meant to offend anybody in any capacity, but from an online perspective, really means nothing, right? Wouldn't you agree, Jeff?
100%, completely agree.
In terms of just getting your name out there, whether it's a super cool website or consistency of videos and taking that to your advantage. So really the bottom line, like I put on here, is if you're looking to maximize your productivity, your branding has to be at that front line, right? I always think of it from a mortgage perspective. The most important thing before anything is a strong operations, right? Strong operations, getting your deals closed, getting you the opportunity to close quickly. Jeff, you hit it right on the money, right? If the conveyor belt is slow in terms of your deals going through, if your product line is getting impacted, if your margins are just too high and you can't sell, there's nothing to brand, right? But starting off with the operations, and then I think the second most important thing is your branding. The branding is an image of yourself. A strong brand is what you have the confidence to put out there and maximize it to your advantage. And then thereafter, it's referral partners and things of that nature, which comes through online branding.
Abdel, I think
So
you made
the
a really
first
good
thing I
point
always
there.
say is,
Abdel, I think you made a really good point there. Just stop you real quick. Is like myself, nobody, and I'll say this as a fact, nobody until I had to take a couple years off to get my head straight, right? Provided the level of service from loan opening to actually loan closing that I provided on a client experience loan origination side, right? So why did I stop originating 30 to 40 million dollars a year and closing 100 plus deals a year? Because look, I never got to 200 or 300, not because I didn't have the skill set to do that, right? I stopped because every operation I ever worked for simply couldn't handle the volume. And I would close loans. I'd make $100,000 to myself after they took their cut. Everyone got paid to myself in a month, right? And they'd be like, why are you pissed off? I'm like, because I should have made 150,000 this month, but you guys couldn't handle my volume. Oh, be happy you made 100 grand. I'm like, why? I'm like, I have no ceiling and I should have made 150. Maybe you're okay with making $50,000 a year, and that's fine for you. That's not okay for me, right? I don't tell you be content with making 50 grand a year. Don't be content with it. Don't tell me, because you control part of my destiny and outcome, right? Every month on what I'm getting paid, right? So I think you make a really good point of they have to go side to side. You need to have the operation, you need to have the conveyor belt, and you can't go and build the item, put it on the conveyor belt and manually move the conveyor belt unless you only want to do the limited possible capabilities, right? So I think that's really important that everyone should focus on, in my opinion, is you need to have both sides, and that's where the level of completeness comes in. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, it piggybacks. I mean, this is a whole nother topic we could dive into, but it piggybacks into the idea of delegation, right? And the art of understanding at what point is the 80-20 rule or Pareto's rule. 80% of the stuff that you do don't generate your result. You delegate that out. You maximize your productivity in terms of 20% of the stuff that does create general revenue. And that's mortgages, real estate, any professional industry. And then I think the next three things is when we're talking about implementation of your brand, you think of these three things, right? Whenever we think of ROI in real estate, right, it's return on your investment. But this shifts to ROI being relevancy, omnipresence, and intimacy, right? And what I mean by that is when you're building that trust with your audience, it's, are you giving out the right content, right? Where it's not being stale and you're saying the same stuff. Are you everywhere? Where it's not just Instagram, Facebook? Are you on YouTube? Are you on, I have finally caved in to doing TikTok because I know Generation Z is where it's on. Are you simultaneously doing your billboards? Are you doing certain home buying seminars has been a big push. Really going into it and understanding that deep relationship of you, yourself, and having a brand. And before we even dive into it too, it's really, do you have a brand? Because that's probably the hardest thing, right? You know, it took me time to come up with the Got Mortgages brand and then the gorilla right next to it, right? And for any of you guys who don't know me or see me, I'm a 6'2", 290-pound gorilla, literally. And it's funny, I took that model, I adapted it, and then for those of us who may have worked with me on the real estate side, I'm hyper aggressive with our clients for the importance of protecting our referral partners, our clients, getting the deal to the closing table, and ran with that model and then just maximize the productivity in terms of getting it right. So I don't know if you have anything to share on that note, Jeff.
Abdel, do you think that you had to become an expert in the mortgage space prior to putting your own personal brand out there? Or do you think that putting your personal brand out there first and then becoming the expert's the way to go? What's your opinion on that?
It's a great question.
And guys, this is going to be interactive. So if anyone else has any commentary, please chime in.
You know what, man? I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because what's happening right now is there's, especially in the world of social media, is there's a lot of, I don't say this to be disrespectful, there's a lot of goons out there, you know, that are sitting there and shooting videos, and you can just tell from the level of coherency and them talking. I'm like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about
at all.
You know what I mean? And I think it's important for you to that's why I say, you know, you start off with your operations, right? And operations roots back to not just people in place or systems in place, but your knowledge too, man. I mean, if it's mortgages, you know, I'm not saying for you to read and understand the Fannie Mae Selling Guide Handbook like the back of your hand. At least having accessibility to those things. If you're, you know, a real estate agent, you know, are you understanding, you know, how quickly you can move things via the MLS? Do you understand the bare minimum from a legal perspective? I mean, I've kind of lucked out too. My background comes from the law field. I've ran numerous law firms, got my master's in law and governance, risk and compliance. So it definitely kind of all put together. I'm a Jersey Shore dude, so sales is in our blood. But I could definitely say that because you can get called on your bluff very quickly, especially in this market where, you know, we're talking about real estate. You're usually on a time crunch, right? Whether it's 30-day closing, 45-day closing. There's a reason why I can close in 7 days, 6-7 days. I just closed 2 files, Monday, Tuesday, 8-day business day closings. So I think it's offering that and understanding that, Jeff. And then when you can confidently have a little bit of a backing, so to say, and I'm sure most of us are not brand new in this industry for those on the call. And then you hyper focus on that specific brand that makes you individually stand out over the rest of the people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. When I went out there, you know, when I first started in the business, you know, I just went out there again to get deals, find deals, meet people, and like learn as much as I could. And then by me closing what I was guaranteed I would not close, I closed the deal, and one of the top guys in the Bronx, like a legend in the Bronx that's still doing business in the Bronx now to this day, was like, yo, you the closer. And I'm like, damn, that's cool. And I'm like, oh, I know baseball. We're in the Bronx. Mariano Rivera, arguably at the time, this is 2008, the best closer of all time, multiple World Series, MVPs, right? I'm like, I'm going to now brand myself with Mariano Rivera, because the familiar face and name inside of my large community, and put the closer, right? Simultaneously from that evolved into the mortgage quarterback, right? So I was the closer, And then the market kind of went like everyone could do mortgages again, right? So like kind of just fell into the mix, and then rebranded myself as the mortgage quarterback because the market went from needing somebody to actually be an expert and close deals because deals were hard to come by, no one had capital, to okay, let me now shift into like I'm the quarterback, I'm gonna be in the education space, I'm now gonna be this lead, right? And then when I like jokingly said, like when my ankle broke, my son was born, and like the world fell on top of me, like the ego side of the mortgage quarterback died, right? And then I was on the sidelines, rehab myself, and now I'm back in action. But now it's like, hey, I'm here, I'm back to being Jeff Van Note, right? Now I'll always be the mortgage quarterback, I'll always be the closer. And when the market calls for those, alter egos to show up, they come up. I can call them up at any time, right? But
Yeah.
it's super important because I would never be the closer if I didn't learn how to be an expert. And also if the bank that I was working for couldn't close the deals that I structured, right? So it is a multifaceted approach. But what I've learned personally over the past, call it 4 years now, really 4.5 years, for lack of a better term, when you go out on your own, right, solely on your own, and you're a one-man show, right? That's why I got into like the advisory and brokerage space. It wasn't because of anything other than I needed to have full accountability for my clients, right? And it's like a full disclosure, like I work for you, you are paying me, right? If you want to engage in this is what we can do. But I'm not affiliated with any individual bank because I can't control them. And I think their operations suck. So I don't want you calling me being pissed off and I'm not getting back to you. I'm available 24/7. I'm on your team. We're like this, right? We're attached at the hip. So once the right clientele realized, I've never heard of that before, but I kind of like this, right? Like now we're an army fighting the bank together. Everything kind of opened up and shifted, right? So understand, like there's no wrong or right point to recreate your brand, to create your brand, to have an image, but the underlying expert status and knowledge needs to keep growing in order to evolve in general.
Yeah. And you said it best. I mean, I say this to my team of loan officers and real estate agents and everybody. There's no wrong or right way to do this business. The results are going to speak for themselves. The most important thing, especially with branding, is your consistency and execution. Are you being consistent with your branding and are you executing it? So really quickly, and we got a lot. I think we normally have, what do we end, Jeff? 12:30?
It's kind of open-ended. We'll see how it goes.
Kind of open-ended. Okay.
Yeah.
So normally the first thing I always say is when we're talking about, so how do we actually do this? The first thing is you want to create and share relevant content, right? Whether it's around, specifically mortgages, real estate, I'll occasionally jump on and do some motivational stuff where it's like, stop complaining, pick up the phone, and things like that. But the first thing is you want to create your content, and the content can just veer from, it doesn't just have to be videos, right? You could talk about articles, sharing different videos, sharing different images, doing different PR in terms of going to your closings. And like I put on the bottom right, you don't have to spend a lot of money on billboards. You don't have to do it. It is a form of branding and marketing. This one's right off the turnpike. So don't have to do it. But again, there's so many different ways, right? So many times I see people like, well, I'm not really a video person. Well, just shift your focus. That's how you sound, one. Two, if you're not a video person, understood. You work on doing your article sharing, your PRs, your images. There's no right way to do it. The simple way is you just got to show up in your audiences, whether it's their news feeds, whether it's your email blast through MailChimp or Constant Contact. Those have the lowest conversions because, of course, they get flagged quicker, so they're spammed. And it's tough to develop that rapport. The best way is picking up that phone or shooting that text. But social media has kind of threw that curveball into it that allows you to maximize how many people you can get to by posting and simultaneously using, the hashtags, or also using the boosting, because at the end of the day, it's down to the money. So spending a couple bucks to reach your search, you can even hyper focus to where you want to look at. So that's something that's super important when it comes to the branding. Jeff, I don't know if you want to touch on that before I kind of dive to the next point.
No, again, so this is obviously off the cuff, but like just even looking at your billboard, right? For example, you know, like it's you. What I mean by that
Yeah.
is like nobody can be like, dude, gorilla, you look more like a chimpanzee, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, you're not like this like monkey that's long and stringy. Like your brand is you. And I think that's what people really need to understand. And like if you're insecure about you, you're gonna be insecure about your brand and you're gonna be insecure about your business, right? So if you're confident in you and you own you, you're able to brand you. And I think
Yeah.
again, you have to have fun with it. Like apes and mortgages don't go together. You figured out a way to brand an ape and a mortgage together, and you're successful at what you do. So, like you said, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah. So there's that, right? And the next thing is, like we had said, right? Sharing the right content to the right people, right? So understanding where is your main focus. If you're a real estate agent shifting the gear, are you focusing where you're going after listings or buyers? Are you focusing where you're going after foreclosures or short sales? Are you focusing where you're going after investors or so on and so forth? Are you going into the commercial space? Are you targeting the residential space? Are you going after blanket mortgages? But understanding the content that you put out, one, so you've developed the content. Now, the next step is, are you sharing it to the right people? And it becomes very scary after a certain point when you start blowing through your budget, right? Because with marketing, right, for all of us, for some of us who understand the importance, are okay with spending what you need to, because you're not going to get an immediate return from it. And if you do, great. But you also don't want to come off where you're annoying rather than relevant, right? Every single time I can tell you, if I've gone to a home buying seminar or an event, somebody has said, hey, yeah, we're friends on Instagram. Anytime I have gone, hey, I love your videos. Hey, so people understand that is me. And I've been consistent from it, where if you've seen my YouTube channel, I was about 180 pounds to now I'm about 280 pounds. So I think it's just staying consistent with it and relevant without being annoying, because we all know those some people that we see online that are sharing the same stuff or doing the same stuff, where it kind of becomes annoying to the point where you're pushed to the side or unfollowed or whatever it is on that nature.
You
So
make a really good point on that. In the tech world, they call it a flywheel, right? Like you need to figure out your 5 audiences that you're speaking to. Again, for the masses. And I'll give you a couple funny stories so everyone can relate. One of the loan officers that I coach is like, yeah, I'm posting all this stuff for realtors on my Facebook. I'm like, how long are you doing the business for? He's like, oh, a year and a half. I'm like, how many deals you closed? 50. I'm like, how many people on your Facebook that you've had since 2008 or whatever, right, are a realtor? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, maybe you should post what you're posting on LinkedIn, right? Because you're posting all this stuff because I'm posting all this stuff. Well, I have probably 15,000 realtors that I've met, shook hands with, trained, educated, spoke at with seminars nationally that are across all my platforms, right? So
yeah,
like, I'm not sitting here posting about football to my audience being tennis players, right? But to give you a funny story, I walked out of my office one day in Hoboken in 2017, and I was walking past like a little bar, and the guy was like, "Oh my God, look, that's the mortgage quarterback." And I'm like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool, right?" Like he's like, "Yeah, I follow you on Instagram." I'm like, "Oh, all right, that's cool." And then last year, I was getting out of the car in front of my house, and this cop came up to me. He's like, "Yo, are you the mortgage quarterback?" And I'm like, "I was." And he's like, "You were?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, that brand kind of died out a couple years ago. I purposely like let it die out for a little bit while I was on the sidelines. He's like, "Oh, I just bought the house across the street. My wife's got to reach out to you because we're actually buying another property and we need help financing. It's so funny that I ran into you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And he literally built a 2-unit condo right across the street from me, right? So like,
cool.
again, like it works. Now, I created the mortgage quarterback in the first quarter of 2017. So for 5 years, and I haven't marketed the mortgage quarterback since 2019, right? So like clearly what I did that time frame was a carryover, and I wound up making like $4,000 to myself on the deal. So like, yeah, you know what? I got another direct media ad like then from back end. What was your ROI? I had no spend. Like I made $4,000 5 years later on something that I stayed true to. So
Yeah.
you never know when that brand is going to stick in someone's mind or when they're actually going to need your brand. The whole point of it is if and when they need that brand, they need to think of you first.
Yeah, you bring a good point. So like for me, half the time when somebody sees me, one of the funniest things is it's always like, do you have any other clothes aside from your Got Mortgages shirts? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, to be honest, I do, but I'm either wearing, this, a black one, a polo, a long
Yeah.
sleeve, a sweater, because especially this one, I mean, it kind of gives it away. Mortgage quarterback gives it
Sure.
away that it's got to do with mortgages, got to do with mortgages. You never know who you run into, right?
Ever.
So there's that. Most importantly, identifying, your audience, like we just touched base on, right? And further understanding, where the clients are at. Is it hot, warm, nurtured? Probably one of the biggest mistakes I did do when I first started it was setting it up, but spending a lot of money, right? Foolishly spending a lot of money, doing the billboards, doing this, doing that, because it gets very expensive.
Quickly, very quickly.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, you're putting in the time and effort. So you do have to really understand that omnipresence, as I had mentioned to you before, with the relevancy, and then understanding how you can control your audience. And you really don't have to spend a lot of money. I wish I have learned that over the years as I do now, where I am strategic as to where the ad spend is going and specifically where it's supposed to go, right?
Abdel, just to make a quick point for you real quick. So, and hopefully everyone can appreciate this. Obviously, hopefully this resonates. The biggest thing, and we're coming up on that time of the year, Super Bowl ads, right? And I'm not going to give you the exact number every year from 1967 to today, but in 1967, right? I don't think anyone on this call was probably alive, maybe a couple, right? 1967, the cost of a 30-second Super Bowl ad, 30 seconds, was $42,500, right? The cost of it today in 2023 is $7 million, right? So someone put, if anyone wants to reach 100 million people for less than $7 million, just let me know, right?
Yeah.
So here's where the power of social media goes. You could post to LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram for free and reach those people for free. And people want to tout how smart the people are that spend $7 million for 30 seconds. I must be absolutely stupid if I'm not spending any money to reach 30,000 people 10 times a day for no cost, right? Like that spend is all ego based, but it's also brand based. If you're a multi-billion-dollar company, $7 million is nothing. It's an accounting error, right? So keep that in mind that if you have no budget, which is why I wrote this book, right, as a glorified branding business card for the Jeff Van Note brand, right? Like you don't have to spend a lot of money based on ego, because I always look at it as if you spend $5,000 on something, your number one goal is to get an ROI on it, make your money back, and then make infinite income. So what I've done over my career is went completely shifted from throwing $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 parties, events, you name it, to make a splash, which I've done. I spent $50,000 on the Manhattan Association of Realtors event back in 2014 out of my own pocket, $50,000 from a brand standpoint, from a FU standpoint on here, right? I don't know what that ROI ever came out of. It's too hard to follow. But when I wrote my book that cost me probably $800 all in between the graphic design, the editing, and all the other crap, right? $800, I know, okay, if I sell 150 books, I'm even. And Amazon tracks that for me, right?
Yeah.
So keep that all in mind, that get to the focus on the ROI. You're either doing something as an investment to get a return on investment, or you're doing something as a brand where you have to write it off as, I'm not making any money on this. I'm doing this for the exposure, presence, and to say I did it. I've learned over time that the business mindset of tracking the ROI is much more fruitful, but you have to keep that investment as low as possible.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that piggybacks to the next point in terms of scaling, which is what I had put in the first thing. So the first one, again, setting your goals, right? How many videos you want to put out, how much content you want to put out, building your foundation in terms of a high generating website, in terms of lead funnels, getting the clicks, getting the ads, building your brand, which we've already kind of went over to establish that authority, and then just promoting nonstop. I mean, from eyes open to eyes shut, you got to be promoting. converting the leads to sales. And that's where kind of the scaling aspect comes into it, right? Where you're going to optimize your sales. Do you know where they're coming from? How are they coming? Are they referral partner driven? Is it social media? Or social media allows you to track your analytics? Have you targeted the right audience? And then improving constantly from those scalings, right? So you're understanding where maybe I shouldn't just hit Jersey, Florida. Maybe I should trickle into PA as Mel. Maybe I should reduce that age gap instead of being 18 to 65 and doing it where it's, you know, tightened out. Maybe I don't hit a whole state and I hit specific counties. And that's the great part about, and remember, these billion-dollar companies like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they are constantly changing their algorithms too, right? So we've had to pivot also, where before the static images used to come up on your Instagram news feeds. Now they don't. Now they come up as reels. Now I've even found it where I got to keep my videos when I do them under a minute 30, because that allows me to boost it. The second I go over 90 seconds, I can't boost it. So I have to change my own scripting in my head as I should probably put a clock, but I don't. And I just go off script. And I got to keep it under. Now I've been trying to keep them at 30 seconds to a minute because it comes up more. So you do have to constantly improve it, but you stay consistent. One of the biggest things that I see is professionals will jump on, attend, and I'm not going to name names, right? But attend some speaker. They get fired up because their company sent it to them or whatever it is. And then you see them on it. Boom, boom, boom. And then they probably get no immediate return, and then you stop.
Never hear from them again.
Yeah, and then you're just not on the thing, or maybe you realize it's not for you, or it's tough and stuff like that. And that I can probably tell you is one of the hardest things, is when you are trying to build your brand, you're not going to get immediate results. And some of us might, right? Because if you're implementing the right steps, but from personal experience, I can tell you, before it was just, my approach was, you know, I can close early, I could do this, I could do that. I've got my background, you know, I own a mortgage licensing school, so I can teach this stuff. I understand this stuff. The state tells me that, hey, this guy can teach you this stuff, so pay him to teach you. With my company, Got License, that's another part where I've stayed consistent with the branding, where it's Got Mortgages, Got License, Got Homes. I ran with that whole slogan and took it from there. And then you take it and you optimize it, right? So there's countless ways to optimize, you know, that specific branding in an effort to growth improve, you know, your business and your life. And then, so again, business exposure, right? Understanding where your business is coming from. Do you have the solid websites? Do you have the solid lead capture? Probably one of the toughest things I see is there's no call to action, especially online. When you're putting out stuff and you're like, man, I want to reach out to this person. And then you click it and there's no short survey form, or there's nothing that tells me how I can quickly answer this person. And we all know, right? In today's day and age, you probably got someone's attention for like 2, maybe 5 seconds before you scroll up, right? So it's understanding, how are you also capturing that mobile responsiveness, right? So 54% of businesses, online businesses, are done through your cell, right? How many of us, aside from work, do we actually sit there and use the Instagram, Facebook, or whatever it is, desktop, right? Unless we have to change our password. So understanding that, how if you have a website, how does it look on a cell phone versus how does it look on a desktop? The desktop's going to look cleaner, but what's the call to action on your cell phone? So a lot of that stuff. And then, you know, I've always said it, right, where I don't care how many people are liking my posts or sharing my posts or doing this or doing that. I've started doing recently is actually tagging some of my partners and some of my professionals in this stuff, because Instagram allows me the opportunity to, and then the Instagram algorithm will share my information through that person that I've just tagged, increasing that net of potential partners, right? And then, of course, your reviews. If you're an agent or a lender and you're getting closings, are you hitting them with the reviews right away? I always send my personal review links the second we're clear to close. I found a lot more success that way than after closing, when you're chasing after them. And going into, again, posting and engagement, your accuracy of this type of information that you're putting out there. I don't know if you have anything to share on that stuff, Jeff, before kind of wrap up with
I
the
think again,
scaling
it's
part.
just the consistency. Like people want, I mean, it's like anything. We want immediate results. If you want immediate results, show up with your money. Go buy a Big Mac, and you got immediate results, right?
Yeah.
You laugh, you smile, right? But it's like, okay. And again, this isn't a knock towards anybody, but I've been at this hardcore every day for the most part, 24/7 now for 15, 16 years. Again, like obviously I've evolved and changed. I've done different things. But patience wins. And I was with my best friend in the cardio, and I had to drop off his daughter's Christmas present because we just couldn't coordinate. Uh, Jason Caldwell, if you guys have met, he's my best friend who works at Goldman Sachs. And, he's like, not only is my best friend, like brother, literally like brother, but, he made a good point. He's like, and he sees a lot. I mean, you have to have $10 million to bring the Goldman Sachs just to even have a conversation, right? If you have 9 million, maybe they'll talk to you for a minute. You got to walk in there with like, look, I have $10 million to bring over, and their average account size is about 60 million. So he sees a whole different level, right, of wealth. And he said, what's crazy? He's like, and he's in New York City, lives on the, Upper East Side, well, kind of like the Upper East Side. And sitting in the car talking, and he's like, everyone tries to like become a billionaire, right? And in trying to become a billionaire, they usually go broke and give up and become nothing, right? So you're either a nothing or a billionaire, right? Like in New York City, right? He's like, meanwhile, man, he's like, I'm just trying to like tread water. He's like, I'm not trying to overswim. And he like used the analogy with his hands like this, right? He's like, I'm not going to get there as fast as possible, but I'm not going to tire out and drown. Never going to fall below the water, and I'm never going to run on the water, right? So like consistently, like every day, if you just do this and you don't like crush yourself, you're not going to burn out, and you're going to get further than everyone. Now, people might like sprint past you and it's like, oh shit, Abdel's running past me. Well, Abdel just spent $100,000 on marketing, so yeah, he's going to. But when he runs out of that $100,000, he's probably going to give up, right? So I'm giving that as an example of like, there's nothing wrong with like finding your pace to run at. And for you marathon Josh runners out there, anyone else that's
I was just gonna say, it
like
sounds
you
like you're
find your
talking about
pace,
Joe.
right? Like I can't go below 8 minutes. I can't go above 8:30 for my average mile pace. And you know what? You're going to finish that marathon. Me, who comes out with a sprint, is going to die out, and I might be ahead of you for the first mile, but then you blow me out of the water, right? So like you need to look at your brand and your business as a marathon that is not only consistent, but delivers the right message to people, right? Everyone in today's world wants to look at the one-hit wonder, and then everyone's like, well, what happens with this one-hit wonder, right? Like, oh, we never heard from him again. Yeah, greatest song ever in 2017. Where is that guy now, right? Then you look at somebody like Drake that's been around for a long time. They keep doing his thing, number one, number one, number one, number one, number one. Like, there's no secret behind that. So you guys have to really be patient and understand, like, I hate saying this way, I see a lot of stuff out there that sucks, right? Like your brand is boring, your brand sucks, you're sharing other people's stuff that doesn't relate to you, your personality, your brand, right? Like own who you are. And I think that's the biggest thing I could say, like be patient with it.
Yeah, it's crucial. I mean, there's a reason why they say it's a marathon and not a sprint, right? So you got to have the patience. There's going to be a lot of times, like think about it, guys. So for those of us who are in real estate, which my understanding everyone on the call is in some capacity, we crushed it in 2020, 2021. And then for those of us who didn't have the necessary means or measures involved in 2022, and you were running full speed and didn't see this kind of coming, you ran out of gas, and then you either picked up a part-time job or reduced your ad spend or whatever it is, as opposed to some of us who've kind of been doing this for a little while, knew that it was going to eventually kind of slow down in turn, right? And then we kind of pivoted. So I think that's important now. And then kind of the last thing is in terms of scaling. So you guys might have heard this before in terms of how you want to track your goals. So when you're tracking your goals, you want to be specific about what you're tracking. You want to have a means to actually measure what you're tracking. You also want to put attainable. So a lot of the times I'll sit down with some loan officers or professional real estate agents, and then, I call it, no disrespect, the circle of baloney, right? The circle of excellence just came out. And then an agent comes and, they hit silver, which is awesome. Congratulations. And then they go, I'm going to hit platinum next year. I'm like, dude, easily achievable, because the ones that hit platinum are doing nothing special in terms of that. They're just consistent in their business model. So now let's be attainable too. Let's be realistic, which is the next part. And then let's find out what are the necessary tools that got us to silver. And then what's the necessary bronze, and then get us to silver, and then get us to gold, and then get us to platinum. And then let's put that down, whether it's on paper, on a whiteboard, put those goals in front of you in order to get there. So if you closed, and I don't know what the metrics are, but if you closed 10 clients, you know, how many phone calls did you make? How many leads did you get? Where did you get those referral sources? How did you get those referral sources? Did those referral sources cost you money? Because if you're looking to hit gold or platinum and you're going to follow the same steps that you did in the first part, you're probably going to have to spend a lot of money. Or are you going to try to cast a wider net and work with a professional that may give you the necessary tools to help offset that cost expense, right? And then it comes into time, right? So like I had mentioned before, the 80-20 Pareto's rule. So we all get the same, not to sound cliche, but the same 24 hours in a day. How can we be successful is the art of delegation. So do you have the right support staff, or is your team providing you the right support staff in place to allow you to go out there and hunt, show, do your listings, maybe hiring your own marketing person to do those marketing stuff for you, to follow up on your calls, to follow up on those physical listings, follow up on those pre-approvals or documents that you're currently waiting on. So I think it's very important, especially because we've already we're still sort of at the beginning of the year, right? So did you guys business plan, whether it's with your team leader or your broker or your branch manager, and set those expectations in place in front of you. And then what I always do with my loan officers is sit down with them every quarter and find out what's their level of production, where's their business coming in, where their referral partners simultaneously coming through, taking the guesswork out of it, right? As I put in the emotion, and becoming a lot more strategic in terms of hitting those numbers that you want. And then in terms of social media, you know, you want to be able to identify what are the top social media platforms that work to your advantage, right? So Google My Business, for those of us who don't have one, this is, I think, one of the most important ones, because Google essentially, that's the search engine for basically everybody. And if you type in Jeff Van Note, Jeff, I don't know if you have a Google My Business, or if you type in John Doe ABC Company or Abdel Kouami, you know, you're gonna come up on the corner right. Or if we search a restaurant nowadays, right, that restaurant's gonna come up at that corner right with the number of reviews and the directions and their website and that, right? So a lot of us, right, when we Google restaurants, and your wife says, or your significant other says, hey, I want to go try this new place, what do most of us do? Google, right? If you get a phone number that you really don't know who is calling you, what do you normally do? At least I know, I pick up every damn call, but what do you generally do? You Google that phone number. So you want to be able to put yourself out there and understand that if you're not out there within at least these top 6 platforms that I'm mentioning here, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to maximize your brand. The second one being basically your website, right? How easy is it for you to capture your leads? How easy is it for you to have pirate links to redirect certain things? Is it very accessible on your cell phone? LinkedIn's a little bit more professional, right? So how many connections do you have on there? Do people have the ability to want to reach out to you? I know LinkedIn does things a little differently, where now you could do like polls, and then the number of polls of people that can click on, whether, you know, is the housing market going to crash? Yes or no? You know, Facebook, obviously, we all know, kind of always constantly recently had to really revamp to Meta because they were under fire with the Dodd-Frank Act. But a lot of that stuff. And then, of course, YouTube and TikTok. TikTok, I'm still personally dabbling into. I started just sharing my videos on there. I haven't really perfected it, but I understand that it's hyper important in terms of reaching that new generation. And then YouTube throwing out that content out there. Jeff, I don't know if you have anything to chime on that.
Nope, I'm good.
Perfect. So, and then kind of towards the end again, right, focusing your efforts. So understanding as you're going through this, the first thing you want to do is we all want to close more deals. So do we have enough opportunities? Do we have, Jeff, you hit it earlier, right? Do you have the capacity to handle more opportunities, right? Does your mortgage company have the capacity, or real estate company, or whatever industry you're in, have the opportunity to handle those? Because what I always say is you kind of get like one shot at this, right? In terms of a closing, in terms of hitting a timeline. And you don't want to be the boy who cried wolf, right? In many instances where you're saying, I can close hyper quick and I can do X, Y, and Z. And then simultaneously, you just don't hit it, right? So then you're put in a situation where you're the boy who cried wolf and you can't close in 7 days, or you can't, hey, like I always say to some of my agents, dude, you got a TOE, give it to me. I confidently can tell you I can close it quick because I'm gonna know what to look at, right? As I'm sure Jeff, Josh, and a lot of others do. So, and then understanding where the lead source is coming from, right? Breaking them down. Is it referral? Is it word of mouth? Is it the organic? Is it the paid trafficking? Is it the other tracking that you guys want to take a look at? And the example I had said where you want to close more deals, well, how much did it take for you to get those 3 deals? And are you tracking your calls, your consultations, and the number of professionals that you reach? And then the last thing is, the more you measure your activity, the more accurately you can forecast your success, right? So with each lead source, you have to analyze on average how long it takes for you to close each type of lead, right? So we all know generally the referral-based type of lead, right, from personal experience is obviously the best type of lead. They're not going to shop you. They're not going to go to their cousin who is a realtor. And then you want to break it down to the referral from that closing. So the word of mouth, and then taking into account if you're doing home buying seminars, if you're doing certain activities, and being able to track each one, because once you put it out in front of you, you're always going to realize, well, damn, if organic and word of mouth is the best way to go, and in order for me to wow those clients, I got to stay hyper consistent on my communication, make sure everybody knows what's going on, pick up my phone, speed to lead. I'm probably going to concentrate my 2 efforts on that. But then I also want to find out, well, why is my paid advertising conversion lower, which usually is. And maybe I need to shift focus to maybe doing postcards, which again has a low open conversion rate, and it's impossible to scale, right? Jeff, you talked about scaling when you threw a $50,000 event. I mean, you could try to maybe sit there. Like I just literally, as we're doing this, I got a lead from an event that I'm doing, a first time home buying seminar, literally 2 seconds ago. And if you guys can see, but you'll kind of see that. And then it says from the For the People Academy. So that maybe, but that I built to allow me the opportunity to measure and scale how it came in, where it came in, and give it the opportunity. And I think a lot of us sometimes tend to probably not necessarily fail at, but put the necessary systems in place to be able to scale it. And I think it's very important for us to be able to put those systems in place, even if it's on paper or on a blackboard or whiteboard, and then taking it from there. So
yeah, and I also think, people get caught up listening to the goons, as you referenced earlier.
Yeah.
Telling people how easy it is to scale this and that. It's like, look, if you've never hit $100,000 before and you've been in the business a couple of years, you're not going from 0 to 1 million, right? Like, let me just state that, right? Like, I know that, and my success was expedited strictly due to my own commitment and sacrifice and hard work, right? From the day I started to 24 years old, right? Literally to December of 2011. And I knew that on my own, my ceiling was about $30 million a year in mortgages at that time at 24, right? Obviously, there's new technology today. So like maybe add 40 or 50% of that capacity, but no one's closing 100 loans in this market right now, right? Or 100 deals in this market fully on their own as of right now, right? You need help, you need an assistant, you need all these things, right? And I never chose to scale because I didn't want to add more to my plate. So what I did was I took my business in New York and I moved it to New Jersey. And in 1 year, I rebuilt the exact same business, closed the exact amount of business, and everything was, okay, yeah, I did it in New York, now I did it in New Jersey. Now I know proof of concept is there, right? In 2 different markets and worlds of 2 different age ranges, right? So I'm never like, yeah, I'm going to show you how to take your business from 500,000 a year to 5 million a year because, yeah, good luck doing that. You have to find the right people. You have to find the right systems. You have to find the right operations, right? So like everyone's like, yeah, I want to scale. I want to scale my business 10x. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, you can scale your business 10x if you made 10 grand last year. That's easy, right? Scale your business from 1 million to 10 million. Good fucking luck, right? Because then you'll be sitting on, Shark Tank if you had the ability to do that, So I think people need to really conceptualize, like, what are you even doing this for, right? Like, it boils down to, like, does your brand really even bring value? Because you look at so many people that post in the real estate and mortgage world, and I don't blame the people that don't know any better. I blame the people that are giving out, the goons that are giving out the wrong information, setting the wrong expectations, and setting the wrong bar. Everyone needs to set the bar for themselves and then like work with the right people to hit that bar. So I just think people really need to be realistic as to like what, their expectations are and what their capacity is. I always say, like, as you're a father, I'm a father, so we could relate about this. And for every parent out there or soon to be parent down the road, I want to 100% be in the best shape of my life, right? Bench 225 10 times, run a 4.7 40, kick ass, eat the right diet. Those are all things I want to do, right? Well, that's going to take 100% effort at 36
Yeah.
years old. I want to be the best father in the world. Well, guess what? That's a freaking hard task when I have my son 50% of the time, right? I want to be a billionaire. I want to run billion-dollar companies, right? Well, guess what? That's probably the hardest out of all of them, right? That's not realistic, right? So I'm at a point in life, and you probably have all seen this, and you guys all know I'm open and transparent about it. I try and be present. And what does that mean? When I'm with my son, he gets the majority of my time, attention, and focus because my time is limited. At the end of the day, I love being a father. So I have to be 100% on when I'm with him. And then when I'm not with him, I try and delegate, okay, for this 2 hours, I need to be 100% focused and invested the best businessman, business person in this world, right? And then when I go to the gym, and I've talked jokingly about Sherry about this because she deadlifts more than me. Abdel, I need to see you and Sherry in the deadlifting competition at some point. I'm sitting there. Listen, I see the arms. I don't see the legs. I don't know. You guys together might be, force to be reckoned with. But all jokes aside, when I'm in the gym, my mind is so fucked from being a father 100% of the time, right? Being a businessman 100% of the time, that I can't perform 100% in the gym. I can't right now because I'm so busy with focus on being a father and focus on being a successful business person with startup businesses that we self-funded, right? So I can't say I'm going to be a billionaire, I'm going to be the best father in the world, right? I can't even have a girlfriend because I don't have the time, right? I'm being honest with you, right? So like people have to be realistic of like, all right, what do you want to be the best at? What are your expectations? You need to set those proper expectations and like hit that one task. Like I know I'm a damn good father, right? I also know I'm a damn good business person from all the shit I've been through in the past 16 years. I didn't wake up a good business person one day. I went through shit to make me a good business person. I was great at getting business, closing business, making money. I wasn't a good business person. I had to go through shit to become a good business person and surround myself with the right people that I wanted to be like to make me a good business person, right?
Yeah.
So like people need to understand why you're even doing this, what your target is, and you can't have 3 targets that take 100% commitment because there's not 300% of you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I could talk for, I mean, I've been married, I've been with my wife for 15 years. And one thing I could personally tell you is for those of us who have significant others, it's getting them involved on what you're doing too, especially in our world with the real estate and mortgages, and just giving them an idea of what you're doing. Because I'm proud, I was probably horrendous in like the 3 years ago in having that balance. Hyper focused, thanks, Ant, hyper focused in work, and really not being around as much. Then I had my son, and we moved down. I live down the shore now from up north, so we lost support. So now it's a lot more shifting, so to say, as to, hey, today I'm in literally right now in one of my agent partners' offices, having this in her conference room. When most of you guys know me, I'm in my office with the gorillas behind me. So it's understanding, I think, that balance between the two, because that's obviously probably, I'm the last person to give advice on that, but I think it's important for them to do that, right? So if it's the weekend, what I literally try to do is I keep my laptop in the car, right? And I will work, because it also allows me the opportunity to see, we all go on vacations, right? We all like to go on vacations. Can I run my business from my phone? And if I can't, that's a problem. Can I run my business in general if I'm on vacation? Because if I can't, then that's a problem. And I always tell myself that, where if I'm on vacation, I don't turn off, but I would like the ability to be able to go on an excursion, right? Go ziplining and not have access to my cell phone and not worry about my office burning down, right? or be able to go out there. And I think that does take time, just like how we're scaling our branding on a whole different topic. We're also going to scale the productivity of our business in regards to lead coming in, lead connected. After the lead was connected, did they get pre-approved? Were they connected with an agent? Were they connected with a lender? That's all steps. And if you catch yourself involved in every single step, my personal recommendations is maybe you find the necessary support to help offset that stuff for you, right? Because if you're sitting there having to take every single conversation with a client and having to pre-approve every single client and having to collect docs every single client and simultaneously looking to get new business, it's very, very difficult, right? And I don't care if I'm up at 4:30 every morning, there's still not enough time in a day, right? And I think so I think it's important where you find your support after that, and that is going to allow you the opportunity to free up yourself to concentrate on your brand, right? So yeah.
I want to bring up another point, and again, just because we're on this call, and I think you guys know, like, these conversations takes a life of their own, and I like to say that, look, I know I'm early in a lot of things that I say and I express and I share, and people, like, you know, first of all, most people don't do the volume that we do, right? You might do 10 loans, great. We might have 30 loans, right? We might be dealing with 15 different lenders. We might be dealing with people that you guys don't even know exist. I'll just give you an example of like how like little things make the most impact. And this goes to like what you're saying. There's not enough time in the day, right? And Josh, if you want to hop on and, you know, co-sign this, what I'm about to say, like we do all of the legwork for everybody for the most part, right? For the lack of a better term, you're an exception, you're an anomaly, right? We do the borrower's job, we do the broker referral partner's job, we do the lender's job. Like we've set up an operation, right? And I set up an operation, but now Sherry and Nikki and Josh are part of the operation because I was at max capacity times 10, right? As you see, to do everyone's job. That's where you make the money, right? We literally did everything. We sent a deal to TD Bank and they came back with great terms. They've been asking me to send them business, right? For about a year and a half now. I'm like, I don't want to deal with your corporate bullshit. I don't care if you have the best rates. You guys suck at communication. You guys always find a way to kill my deals. Like, I'm just not going to deal with you. Got plugged in, been asking for business. This is actually really funny. There's somebody that I think I saw on this call who is still on the call, whose family owns property down. This is all true story. This all can be confirmed. Down in Wildwood, New Jersey. I get a call from my very good client. Hey, met a guy that knows you, he loves you, likes you, this and that. He brought your name up. And I'm like, I don't know too many people that say that, you know, like in this world, you know what I mean? Like, who could it be? She's like, it's X, Y, and Z from TD Bank. I'm like, oh, that's fucking funny. I'm like, the guy never responds to my emails. I always put inquiries out there. Yeah, I don't think he's actually replied to my last text that I sent 2 months ago, right? You know what? Let me give this guy another shot. But he had the balls, and I never met the guy. He had the balls to tell like my really good clients that I consider like family friends at this point, right? Like how well he knows me, how great I am, what I do. I'm like, this guy sucks, right? So we get another deal. We literally give him a shot. We send him a personal financial statement, which is blank on top. And he's like, oh, I can't accept this. It doesn't have the TD Bank logo on it. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I now have to get my client, because I can't sign my client's name, to transfer the data and information, update it through like the recent month and sign it. So we finally get it back. It's a $1.1 million deal, right? So it's not like a $10,000 deal. It's a $1.1 million like real deal. The guy's a multimillionaire. We finally get it yesterday. We forwarded it over right away. And I put, please confirm receipt. This is 24 hours ago, right? I even follow it up with a text message, right? And Josh can confirm this. He's on the text. I said, hey, Magic, insert name here, sent you PFS. You should be fully complete now. This was yesterday at 3:49 p.m. He doesn't reply. Now I'm sitting here on the call when you're mentioning things, right? Like doing everyone else's job, not enough time in the day. I'm like, yo, you alive or what? And I am. I was waiting for the PFS for a week. Can I get more than 24 hours to review the file? I go, hey, you don't need 24 hours for a common courtesy acknowledgement of me sending you this attachment. Like, dude, I didn't tell you to get back to me other than saying, can you just confirm you received this? Because your fucking email in the past has rejected my emails because your emails only accept a certain file size. Like, common courtesy. But now, again, like, if I didn't think of that and Josh wasn't on top of shit the way he was, a week could go by. hey, did you get this? No, I never got it. Oh, okay. Or yeah, I got it. I'm reviewing it. But like, why can't you just reply to the email?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, well, I'll tell you, especially in our industry, man, there's so many egos become more into play than so many things. And we start forgetting the clients who are involved and the number of professionals involved. And but I agree with you on that point.
You
Yeah,
know,
I just
again,
wanted
like
to.
go ahead, Josh, you got it.
No, no, I just wanted to comment on that. We're talking brand in a good positive light. Situations like that, people that act like that, they create their own brand, but on the negative end, right?
Exactly.
They become the person that will never respond, will never get back to you within an adequate amount of time, not even with a confirm. And then that starts to translate throughout your life, throughout the industry, and you start to become that person that never gets back to people. So I think that's so important. And again, it's so simple, just replying and saying, yes, got it, I'm on top of it. And I also just want to say, I love this topic. You guys are phenomenal at it, Jeff and Abdel specifically. I look up to you guys in this specific instance in terms of branding. You guys are both phenomenal on social, sharing real valuable information, knowledge with the general public. Anyone on this call, and Jeff, if you're sending this out through YouTube, everyone watching this, please look at these guys as proven examples on how to actually positively build your brand and send it out there to the universe, because it does have an impact on people in a positive way. And I can't say that enough. So this stuff is so important, especially with what we do individually. If speaking specifically to individual loan officers or real estate agents, we run our own business. We are our own CEO of our lives. So you are responsible for your brand, right? You're responsible for building it, whether it's the right way or whether, again, we just talked about the negative wrong way. So I think it's so important. It's something that you can't bypass, especially in today's day and age, with social media and everything out there. It's so important. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for sharing your insights on this, because it's not just like, unnecessary information. It's tried, it's proven. And I think a lot of people can get value out of it.
Yeah, I appreciate
Thanks,
you saying
Josh.
that.
Appreciate
And again,
that.
like I think you make a really good point, right? Like you don't need to spend $1 on your reputation. Like reply, like, and again, Josh, you see this firsthand now. And we obviously, hopefully you're seeing a lot of like, oh, now I see why he says what he says, why he does what he does, and how his brain works, right? So
Yep.
it came down to like we have, and this is like full transparency to everyone on this call. We have one loan product, right? We can make a lot of money on, right? We have the same loan product at another company that we make 40% on. Like, so if we make $1 with this company, we only make 40 cents with this company. Same exact loan product, parameters, everything, right? And again, like I go to Josh, I'm like, yeah, we can make all of this, but if we end up losing clients from this because the service sucks and everything goes sideways, then we have nothing. Whereas if we just take 40 cents on everything, we'll get 100 more clients from it, right?
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, answering your phone, being a first-class human, being a gentleman or a lady, if you will, right? Like that's part of your reputation. That becomes your brand, right? So as you're building, got mortgages, if you're equally backing up your brand by your reputation in real time, that's powerful crap. I can't tell you how many people we see on a daily basis going out there, I'm a leader, I'm this. You need to get back to people. You need to reply. And then you call them, they don't get back to you for 2 days. They're not busy. They're broke. They don't reply to a text message. It's like, hold on a second here. You put on this whole dog and pony show preaching, like, don't drink beers, don't drink beers. Dog, I just saw you at a bar sitting down drinking beers.
Yeah.
Like, don't follow people like that, man. Like, again, like everything that we say on here, and again, like Josh and Sherry and Nikki and even Abdel, like half in, half out can tell you, like what I preach, I practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I challenge anybody to like prove me wrong. Like, I don't just say things on here and go and do the exact opposite things, right? Are the times where I tell people I'm gonna get back to them and I don't? Yeah, 100%. You know why? Because again, if my time runs out in a day and I have my son and I have 50 other people to get back to, it's something we're working on. It's also why I hired specifically Josh and Sherry, right? And brought them into the bigger picture and made them an equal with me, because that's how you do business, right? So like, yes, you know what? We're working on the bottleneck problems, but we also have more inquiries and more time and more demand, right, than what we're capable of personally and physically handling. right? But that's an honest mistake. It's not like, hey, Jeff, I had this scenario. What would you do on this? I'll reply to you right away. If I could answer in a text reply, it happens right away, right? But people need to understand that who you follow is equally as important, right? Who you're led by is a direct reflection on you. Who you're affiliated with, that's the culture that you guys are going to be a part of, whether you like it or not. And I preach to Josh and Sherry, Nikki all the time. Like, don't be like this person, right? Like, we had somebody that we've been asking information for, and they said that, oh, I didn't reply because I didn't know the answer. Well, all right, ask for help, because we know that when the commitment's due in a week and you haven't replied and you're the realtor, you're then going to be saying, why isn't the commitment due? And then we're going to be getting called from the listing agent, we're going to be getting called from the attorneys, the borrowers. Meanwhile, we have 7 days we've been trying to get a hold of you on only you have the information for. Hey, Sherry, and she'll even tell you this, call a listing agent, call the attorneys, let the buyer know, here's a screenshot. We asked for this. Don't break our chops when the commitment's not in, because we're doing our job, right? Which then brings us right into Reverify, which is why I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money into Reverify, which I never had to do, right? To create an accountability program for people to have a cleaner way of doing business where nobody can hide. If you want to hide, get out of the way. You're going to be exposed. With Reverify, you can't hide. If you operate with transparency, trust, communication, and a first-class business mentality, Reverify is for you. If you're a smoke and mirrors operation, Reverify is not for you, right? So Abdel, again, that's like a little bit of a look into like psychology behind Reverify. So in that way, it's like, wait, we reached out to you 10 times, you didn't reply, everyone else saw it, but everyone knows now where the problem is in the transaction. It can't be like, oh, Abdel's company sucks, he didn't get the commitment. Meanwhile, Randy the realtor didn't get you, the proper taxes on the property, right? Or Randy the realtor never sent you the addendum to the contract, which I'm sure we get blamed for things all the time that's completely outside of our control.
Correct.
So again, guys, figure out who you want to be, right? And create your fun brand around it. That's all I have to share. We can obviously open up the Q&A if anyone wants to try and figure out how to create your own brand, if we can help you with your own brand. Obviously, that's what the floor is now for the next 10, 15 minutes to do so. Laura Netto, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. I think this is your first time on the call, huh? Maybe not. If anybody knows, the NETO person on is my HELOC Connect. We've all probably dealt with her at some point, him at some point. And, it's really been a pleasure sending hundreds of deals per year, to M&T Bank to get those deals done. So, Casey Nelson, what's up, man? You want to take your video off and show everyone your pretty face?
Hey,
there you go. So anybody who's a hockey fan, meet legend Casey Nelson, now retired, sitting in Arizona in the nice warm weather, probably waiting for Waste Management to start, right? Comes up soon.
I'm about to leave for there. Yeah.
All right, there you go. So anybody that's in Arizona, looking in Arizona, you want an autograph, reach out to him direct. Josh, meet Casey. I don't know if you guys ever talked before, but definitely
Casey.
Connect.
Hey, how
Pleasure
you
to
doing?
meet you, my man. Great. How are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you got? What do you guys share with us? Any little Arizona market update? How did you build your brand after coming from? Well, how did you build your brand as obviously playing in the NHL, right? That brand. And how did you, once you hung up everything that you hung up, how did you transfer that brand into your real estate brand?
Shit, I was almost starting over twice because I started real estate in Minnesota there when I was done. And I was about 6 months in and I was really getting traction finally. And that's when me and the wife decided to move down here to Arizona. So I almost picked up everything and started over down here. So yeah, it's now we're rebuilding, right? So takes a while, and I'm building other things as well, not just real estate. So I just like to build things. Whether I'm starting.
So you should get with Abdel about your gym equipment. Abdel doesn't work out, if you don't know that. He's just naturally looks like an ape, but I'm sure he's a good endorsement. You might even want to do like a little GOP mortgages, promo with him.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, so I just started a gym equipment sales company, mostly commercial. So we're.
I heard you own a little piece of Reverify too. Is that true?
I do.
My man.
But yeah, we're going to do mostly commercial projects, whether it's performance gyms for colleges or rec centers or hospitals, honestly, anywhere that you see commercial equipment, we can do it. We partner with Free Motion, which is one of the bigger commercial products, and then Kaiser. We just partnered with Kaiser, and then Power Block right now. And yeah, we're starting to roll. So if you guys need anything for any of your clients or anything that way, we can do home gym stuff too. So
Casey, what was it like building, I know you were more of a grinder in the NHL from what I know about you, right? You're not really like a big
my 180-pound frame.
Yeah. Do you feel like you had to build your own personal brand playing in the NHL, or did you kind of just like hide under the NHL brand and logo?
Yeah, more so. I'm pretty quiet as it is.
You're not flashy. You're not flashy like that.
No,
Yeah.
not really. I'm more of I'd rather stay under the umbrella of.
Yeah, just lay somebody out in the middle of a game. I get it.
Yeah, I don't like the spotlight. Not that I wanted the spotlight. I wasn't one of the top guys on the team, right? So I couldn't necessarily have the spotlight even if I wanted it. But
we'll get you a spotlight. Josh, make a note. We gotta send him a spotlight with our brand on it.
Yeah, give him some lights.
100%, dude. He just has to wear a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey. That's all.
Oh no! Hey, one of my good buddies is on the Penguins. I could probably pull it for just a picture or something.
Okay, all right.
Josh, it sounds like he's gonna get you an autograph for a Penguins jersey.
I know.
Hey, whatever he needs. Yeah,
but, no. All jokes aside, obviously what you're doing in Arizona, I always say like people can easily hang it up and like kind of get lost in the way. I think one thing I've always admired about you is not only the fact that you are a gentleman, right? But you went from a professional major league career into what I consider to be like an unknown entrepreneurial world, right? And just like further like proves like athletes in most cases, usually find a way to succeed. They never give up and they're willing to try different things. You know what? If you get laid out from not having your head on a swivel, you know what? You might hurt for a second, but you're gonna get back up out of pride and come back in full force. And if anything that wakes you up, so like it's obviously super. The fact that we never met in person, they'll get to change that. But watching you from afar, like what you're looking to do from a perseverance standpoint, and really just like pushing it when you don't have to push it. It's just super, super encouraging to see. And I think more people like need to know that story, right? Because even if you do make it to the pros, sometime you get knocked out of the pros by choice, by decision, right? Or by, God's reasoning, right?
Yeah.
But what you do after that, in my opinion, is more important than what you do inside of that career.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is not to, I guess, get comfortable and stagnant, because that's what kills everything, right? So I took about a year off after hockey, right? But I finished my degree. I was still doing some stuff and got into real estate. So yeah. And then, I just don't want to sit still. Whether it's stressful or not, I need to do something, whether it's another house and flipping it or Airbnb. Yeah. We learned how to, we had a year of your Airbnb and we sold that. Yeah. It's just trying I just like to learn and try new things. And
what'd you make on your Airbnb flip? Did you can get everybody excited?
Sale wise, we made about 250 and then we made another 100 during the year, but
not bad, right? 1 year.
Yeah. It's good, but it was worth it. It was fun to learn, and we managed it the whole time. We even cleaned the fucking thing every time, which wasn't fun. So
you or your wife, tell the truth.
Mostly the wife, but yeah, 100%.
God, man. Well, always a pleasure having you on. I know we got to get together and you'll go over that Airbnb portfolio, which maybe we'll set up a Zoom at noon call to kind of review and teach everyone together. But just wanted you to hop on, show your face, say hello to everybody. And, guys, like I said, when we have people on here, follow them on Instagram, reach out to them, get involved with what they have going on. Hopefully you guys can, do business outside the Zoom at noon calls. But, Casey, as always, appreciate you. Hopefully you have fun weekend and, learn a couple things about that sport that you've been trying to get me to get into.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, good stuff. Thanks for hopping on here. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, guys. Anybody else want to hop on? Hector Barrero, you want to hop on, say anything? Or you just hanging out?
Just hanging out.
There he is, my man. What do you got going on?
As usual, construction.
What's been your journey on like creating your own personal brand? I know you had your hands in a lot of things. What have you found to be the most successful way to get people to trust you? I feel like you're a very trustworthy, reliable source.
Transparency. Full transparency, man. Clean business. That's it. It's the only way.
Yeah.
It becomes more organic for me. It's been my, zero ad dollars. It's just been organic relationships. Just
That's all you got. That's all you got. That was simple. I'll take it. All right. Next. Anybody else up? Melanie, what are you doing down there in Georgia? Melanie, are you sleeping? Yep, Melanie's napping.
I'm not napping. I had to I'm muted. Sorry.
I'm just busting your chops as always. You're low hanging fruit.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've just been trying to establish my realtor database. That's about it. That's what I'm concentrating on this week.
Okay. Awesome.
So,
Nikki Ingram, why don't you share with everybody what you've done, to really get your name out there? Obviously, you're making some, good headway. You're getting involved in some events. What do you, at this point of your career right now today, what does your brand look like for yourself?
Still going back and forth. I told you guys the other day that I might start targeting the older men at the grocery stores and say, like, chat with
Older men at grocery stores. All right.
Nice.
Sherry, listen, I think you rubbed off on it a little bit. You both got your headsets on, like you guys are flying airplanes. I don't know what the heck's going on here. Josh, please don't put your headset on, dude. We gotta keep the headsets off.
I got it right here, man. You never know.
Oh my goodness.
He normally has his on. I'm surprised he doesn't.
Oh my God, I love it. I like seeing that. That's very nice to see, actually. So as far as your brand goes, like, what do you think your brand gives off? If somebody looks at you right now based on what you post or the deals you close, right? What do you think they say or see or hear?
I think that people that actually have worked with me all think that I'm very genuine and, actually looking to do the best for them. I make sure that they're aware that if they can find something better, that I'm not going to hold them back, but, they're not going to get as great quality service as they would with me to be taught the process along the way and feel comfortable. So I think people that work with me feel that way. I think from a social media standpoint, I'm probably still a little bit under Ian's belt, and people are just seeing me as the other part to his business, trying to step out of that a little bit, but yeah.
Word on the street is you kicked Rocket Mortgage's ass last month, stole a deal from him and locked it in and closed it. Is that true?
True.
What allowed you, Nikki Ingram, to beat out Rocket Mortgage? I want an honest answer from that.
Well, they actually twice. So the client came to me first and we worked together, but then he got a better quote from Quicken first. My husband was the realtor and the client kept getting frustrated about not getting answers from them. And he said, you should really go back to Nikki. And so they did. They came back to me. They weren't happy with the rates. So they shopped me again and found Rocket Mortgage. Same issue, weren't getting good quality service. Nobody was talking to them. They basically got the one phone call saying, hey, we can do this for you. They were excited about the rate and then never spoke to them on the phone again. So about a month later, he came back to me again and we closed the deal, and I made sure that I was walking them through the whole process. I also kept in touch with them the entire time. We started in August and I was sending them messages a couple times a month, and they had just had a new baby. So I was following up on that, and yeah.
So your brand is as genuine as it gets. And I want to reiterate, I'm super proud of you for that. It's not an easy task to do in general, regardless of how long you've been in the business, but at your age, what you've done, just never leave that genuine understanding behind, right? Regardless of how successful you come, if you always remain true to yourself on that, oh my God, like the sky's the limit, and you're gonna have to tell your husband to get his own yacht, because I know you're getting the first one.
Yep.
So we're proud of you. Just wanted you to share that story. All right, guys, that's all I got. Abdel, you got anything to close it out?
No, I appreciate the time. I think, again, kind of piggybacking, guys, the importance of the brand, identifying what makes you special. Josh mentioned a couple seconds, right? Some companies have what I think stereotypes, right? And Josh, while you were kind of speaking a couple seconds ago, right, where you have your reputation and your reputation follows up with you. And, I'm not going to name the two companies that Nikki just mentioned, but those are literally two companies that, as Josh was speaking, clicked in my head, where most of us who are loan originators, because of especially now the one company who mentioned it, right? Their name, they've been really into the news recently because they're doing that special interest rate buy down for the first year, stuff like that. But one of the, I can't tell you how many clients that I have pulled from them and how many clients I have, to be completely honest, lost to them because of that. Not as much nowadays because their margins are trashed right now. And I think a certain part of us, and I go on for hours, but when you really understand how the business works, especially in mortgages, in terms of margins and margin compressions and stuff like that, there's a reason why we're really barely seeing the internet type of style lenders, right? Because their margins are so whacked out. And then the institutional lenders have the ability to stay hyper competitive still because they can offset it. They could take losses, which now there's been a lot of new changes where Fannie Mae is restricting some of these lenders to take consistent losses per quota or per quarter. And that's about it, and I think understanding, aside from your audience, but understanding who your competition is, right? We all have local competition. We all have local lenders that, are our competitors, or local realtors are our competitors. But, Nikki, what stuck out to me also within your story was you knew the agent, right? Besides the fact that his familiar relationship with you, but you knew who the agent was. And that's something I always tell my loan officers, right? Because, or if you're a realtor and you don't know the loan officer, because I'm that loan officer. If I don't know you and you suck, I'm pulling that client and putting them with an agent who's going to show them, who's going to stay consistent, who's going to pick up the phone and things along that nature, right? And what basically pulled you, besides the fact that you're very transparent and savvy, was you knew the agent. And the agent vouched for you, whether familiar relationship or not, and then was a soundboard for you to the clients that allowed them to get reeled back into you. So awesome job. But yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, I hope you guys all had a great time. I know we went a little bit overboard today, but review the presentation, kick butt. Like, again, don't forget to create your own brand, be silly, have fun, post shit. Doesn't matter if the video quality sucks, like be real, just be consistent with it, right? So do what you guys got to do, but I hope you guys have a great week. And we'll see you guys next week, Zoom at noon.
Boom. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.